I have to be honest with y'all. My mind right now is fried trying to calculate how the hell we are still alive in this playoff push. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, one of the co hosts of this show that talks everything about RGV FC. We have an interesting program to talk about. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the last game against Sacramento Republic. Um, why is it that we're still alive? Which I'm still trying to figure out. That's what I was trying to do right now before we went live. Um, we'll discuss more about that. What we need to make it to the playoffs, considering the fact that we're still alive despite New Mexico having 43 points. We'll have a couple of quotes to talk about in Quema no Quema Ka. Obviously, also, the I guess the speculation you can call it of the relationship between Puma and RGVFC. And I'm not talking about Puma Pimentel. I'm talking about Puma, the clothing brand. Oh, there we go. Puma, the clothing brand, who are ending their relationship with RGV because we'll talk about it more. Basically, it has to do with the amount that was stipulated on the contract, the amount of years, right? And also, we're going to be talking up ahead about Loudoun United. So I'm glad to see that everybody's here. Be sure, real quick, go ahead and share this with your friends. Let everybody know that the RGVS. Let everybody know that the Down in the Valley podcast is live right now. Share with your family, with your friends, your dog, your cat, your pet turtle, your girlfriend, your ex girlfriend, tu suegra, whoever. Let them know, especially if they're a Toros fan, which I know it's a difficult moment to be a Toros fan to begin with, but let them know that the Down in the Valley podcast is alive. I'll get to that, Nathaniel. Don't get ahead of me, because yes, pretty much. That's pretty much summing it up. But we'll get to that eventually, man. Um, I guess the best way to describe these last couple of weeks is RGVFC. They talked about every weekday, leaving every press conference leading up to the games. This guy, we're working. We got to play our best. We're playing each game like a final. We got to continue playing well defensively. We got to continue playing well offensively. But it's like these last couple of weeks, it's just been like, really, guys. It's like that's what you've been. This is the work that you've been trying to play for, specifically on defense, right? And we talked about it the last time we went live. I said the problem with this team is that the defense will play well one or two games, and then they'll just start making mistakes. There are just going to be some situations where they lose their concentration, they lose their chemistry. There's very little communication at some points. And the problem is that when the Toros make these kind of mistakes, the other teams are able to take advantage of. Obviously, this last game against Sacramento Republic really isn't an exemption, right? So looking at this game, I honestly wasn't expecting much. I really thought that the Toros were going to pretty much at most gonna go for gonna go for the why am I messing up? They're gonna go for the draw. I really did think that, and I think I mentioned it on Twitter. I thought that this mess with the defense was gonna continue. Really, honestly, to me, you don't have a Habakwe. Pimentel is pretty much sitting on the bench, just getting a couple of minutes here and there. We don't know exactly why Eric Pimentel. And I know I've criticized Eric Pimentel. He's been one of those where like he'll create a dumb foul or anything like that. Um, then all of a sudden he just kind of got lost. Got he just kind of got lost, not appearing on the 18, being on the bench, but really, he really lost his spot in the starting 11. And I think it's a surprised a lot of people, especially the fact that there really hasn't been an explanation as to why that is the case. Now you're starting to see Juan David Cabezas playing that center back role instead of that center defensive midfielder role. Last time we talked about it, I did mention that for me, at least, Juan David Cabezas, it seemed like he had a better fit when he had somebody next to him, whether it was a center defensive midfield role or in the back line. Whenever he was left all alone in that midfield to cover the whole width of the field, he had trouble, which is obvious because he's not that young anymore, right? So then you've got the situation with Michael Knapp coming back. You now have Frank Lopez back because of the the red card that he accumulated. So he lost this past game against Hartford. Well, yeah, I think again I'm totally lost. Anyway, so you lose Frank Lopez. Now you're gonna get him back. The whole situation now is that there's a lot of questions on defense, right? Because you don't have Wahab Akwe, who was your best center back. You don't have Eric Pimentel, like I mentioned, another veteran player. And there really hasn't been a set player out on left back. You've seen Gabriel Benitez in the role. You've seen Tomas Ritondale on that role. You've seen Ricky Reese on that role, right? And it's like, man, like, why is it that we don't have a set defender that is natural to that position in that role, right? Has Tomas Ritondale not, no le ha llenado el ojo, like we say in Spanish, to Wilmer Cabrera? Not 100% sure, to be honest. We don't know exactly what goes on, in practices, what he sees. But I do think it's very strange that also in that position, you're improvising. You're improvising with a center back, which is Gabriel Benitez, and you're improvising with a winger, which is Ricky Reese, right? So you go into this game against Sacramento Republic. You see the lineup that gets posted by the Toros, and it's like, let me, and it's like you see Ricky Reese once again in that in the starting 11 as a defender, and it's like, yeah, what's going on, right? Like this is who you had out on the field. So your starting 11 for RGV FC in this particular game was obviously Tyler Derrick on the goal. You had Jonathan Ricketts, you had Juan David Cabezas, Frank Nodarce, and Ricky Reese as that back four. In the midfield, you had Taylor Davila as that box-to-box midfielder with Michael Knapp as more of um, the set center defensive midfielder, right? And then out on the wings, you had Alex Moniz, you had Christian Pinzon, and then you had Cristiano Francois was on the wing. Christian Pinzon played more of the number 10, and of course, Frank Lopez as your striker, right? But it brought up a lot of questions because you look at your substitutes, right? And you had obviously Carlos Merancio as the goalkeeper, Robert Coronado, Eric Pimentel, Tomás Ritondale, Gringo Torres, Ian Cerro, and Juan Ganindres, right? So a couple of questions here is obviously the two that stand out, Eric Pimentel and Gringo Torres, but obviously with Gringo Torres, it's a little bit more, you could say, there's a little bit more of an answer. Why, right? Because Michael Knapp has been playing well in that position, and you're not going to bench Taylor Davila. The way he had been playing offensively, defensively, you're not going to bench Taylor Davila, right? So Gringo Torres is going to have to wait for his opportunity on the bench. But Tomas Ritondale is like, why are you? I can understand in the line of five, Ricky Reese, being that wing back, but in the line of four, in this case, kind of like raised a couple of questions on my head. I don't know what you guys think about that. To be honest, at least to me, I was like, I guess we'll see what happens. But it's just a question, obviously, of, I mean, what was the depth of that position, right? Ahí les falló, at least in my point of view, right? So honestly, the starting 11 for Sacramento Republic, you had Danny Vitiello, with White, Connor Donovan, Timmer, Gurr, Sanchez, Nick Ross, Felipe, Herrera, Gecko, and Cicero. Really, really, there's a reason why they're one of the best teams in the Western Conference, right? Sacramento Republic has been, for the most part, very consistent. They've played really, really well, and so you expected something similar coming into this match. And for the beginning of the game, for the beginning of the game, it looks like RGV FC was the better team. If you look at the chalkboard, of the game, obviously number one, RGV scores in the tenth minute, right? So it was an early goal for RGV FC. In the first half, pretty much, you limited, I think. Let me look at this correctly. You limited Sacramento Republic to, I think it says here, two shots on target, two block shots, and three shots off target, right? Actually, no, those two block shots. I mean, those are the two goals, right? So you score in the 10th minute, and obviously that brought a lot of fear, a lot of happiness to the fans, to me as well, because it's like, man, this is the momentum that the team needs against a team like Sacramento Republic, and that is, you gotta hit them fast, you gotta hit them, quickly, and be able to manage yourself, to make sure, because when you hurt Sacramento, it's when they're most dangerous, right? And so RGV scores off of a beautiful goal by Frank Lopez. Si se pasó de lanza, like he chipped VTLO. Let's go ahead and show. Let me show you the place, just so you can get an idea. I think it's this one, right? Okay. So right off the bat, I think this is. Oh no, that's a booking. Okay, so this is the goal by Frank Lopez, right? So Frank Nodarse has the ball. It looks like Sacramento Republic was kind of hesitant of going with the high press. You see that they had a bunch of players bunched up in the midfield. You had one, two, three, four, five, six players in the midfield, and then you've got your back line, um, guarding Frank Lopez. So Frank Nodarse, a sends a lobbed through ball past the midfield, because, like I said, everybody's so bunched up, and nobody is pressuring him. So it gives him all the time in the world to look up and then see that Frank Lopez is going to start his run. He sees that, sends the pass over, which gets past both of the center backs. Vitiello is kind of caught up high. It's one of those things where it's like he feels like, oh, I think I need to go, go pressure up and see if I can intercept that, but he just stays there. So Frank Lopez receives the ball. It bounces favorably towards him, and you leave Vitiello in no man's land. Why? Because it's one of those places where, like, oh snap, I have the 18-yard line right in front of me, and so maybe, because it's happened to me before. Obviously, I'm not a professional, But I have played goalkeeper before, and it's happened to me, right? But it's one of those things where you decide, okay, you know what, this is okay. He didn't control it correctly. It's gonna come straight towards me. Let me go get it. Let me go, punch it or grab it or something. But then you realize, oh snap, I got the 18-yard box. So that first instinct you had to use, you start doubting yourself. You start, you have second thoughts in your mind. Okay, I can't use my hands. And now you have to position yourself completely different if you want to use your head or something like that. And in those split seconds, Frank Lopez takes advantage of it, chips the ball over Vitiello, and of course, RGV has an early, maybe a surprising lead, for a lot of people. Starts twerking. I didn't know this that, but yeah, look, see, picks his head up, sends the pass over, goes past Connor Donovan. Donovan can't get a touch to it. And see where Vitiello decides, oh, let me go for it. But instead of trying to use his head or something, he goes for the harder route of trying to kick it off, right? And so in those split seconds, Frank Lopez, with the momentum that he has had as a goal scorer, is obviously going to take advantage of that, chips it over, puts the ball in the back of the net. So everything was going well there so far. But obviously, Sacramento Republic is a very dangerous team. That was an easy save, obviously, for Tyler Derrick. And I believe this is another save by Tyler Derrick. So this is where Sacramento Republic now starts to use it. You know what? We need to go for the high pressure because they were playing for something. They were playing to be the top of the Western Conference, right? So it wasn't like, oh, Sacramento is already qualified for the playoffs. Oh, they're gonna come in. They're just gonna relax. They're not gonna. They have nothing to fight for, right? Like if they lose, whatever. No, they were trying to, like I said, they were trying to fight to get the top of the Western Conference, right? So they still had something to fight for, and you could see it right after they got scored on. They started employing the high pressure, towards to RGV FC. They caused this bad pass by Frank Nodarse. They recover the ball. Dangerous opportunity, right? Tries to go for the cross. That header gets saved by Tyler Derrick. So that was a very close call on RGV. This is one of the things where I mentioned, oh, by the way, what? Ouch. That looked like it hurt. That slap on the face. That was, which is obviously not intentional. I know Sacramento was kind of calling for a penalty or something like that, but that was not intentional by Juan David Cabezas. But the point is that RGV needed to get their act together. They knew that they had to react better against the high pressure. We go back to saying they have to limit the amount of mistakes, and this was a close call on something that could have been a goal against. However, later on, obviously, they were not so lucky, right? So, you know how I mentioned, the beginning of the show where I said that the defensive line did not have coordination. They did not have a communication. So this is one example right here. Okay. So this is the back line for RGV. So obviously they're bunching everybody up in the midfield. You've got pretty much, a lot of players. You got I want to say this is Michael Knapp. Frank Nodarse, who I think is too high up the line compared to everybody else. Cristiano Francois, Christian Pinzon, and Taylor Davila. And Taylor Davila, you could tell he's looking at this guy. He's marking this guy, making sure he doesn't run. Jonathan Ricketts is covering this guy over here. Close, it was a close mark, right? The problem is, take a look at Ricky. This is supposed to be the line, right? This is supposed to be the line that the defense is supposed to be. The problem is that Ricky Reese was too far back. And so let me see if I can get it at the exact moment where the ball leaves leaves the foot. Look, Ricky was too far back, and so he was the one that set a Cicerone onside. Just the lack of coordination, the lack of chemistry. Why? Because Ricky isn't a player that is a defensive minded player. And he said it himself. This is not a position that I like playing at all. Right? So Cicerone receives the ball by himself in the midfield. By the way, beautiful reception right there. That little curl to be able to because the ball was actually falling behind him. And that touch in order to, grab and turn to so that way the ball went straight towards where he was running towards the direction of Tyler Derrick. That was beautiful. Not every player has the audacity to do that. So obviously puts that ball into the back of the net, and that lead only lasted 25 minutes. So yeah. Oh yes, that is true, Josh. That's another thing. If you go back, you see. Look at this space because everybody is shifted towards RGV's left. You got this. I want to say he's the wing back actually, or the winger. He got left all alone. But in the end, whether it was to him or to Cicerone, so that's the thing, right? Left him all alone. So Jonathan Ricketts knew the assignment. Look, Jonathan Ricketts sees, oh, Cicerone is going to run. He's going to run into space. What do? I take that step forward to keep him offside. The problem is, Ricky never noticed that. He's too busy paying attention to the ball. There is no communication. There is no him looking to the sides. Oh, snap. I'm way behind the rest of my defensive lineup. I got to push up. Or there is no communication. Oh, he's running. Jonathan Ricketts made the step forward. I guess we're going to go for the offside trap. Let me move up. You don't see that awareness from Ricky Reese. And so that kept Cicerone onside. Cicerone offside and was able to score the goal. Josh says your CBs are too close together because the line wasn't in sync for it. That is also true. And also, if you mentioned right in the beginning of that play, 15, Nodarse, this guy right here, he was way ahead of the rest of the line. So obviously there's the whole thing of there's no synchronization, between these teams. It doesn't help that your leader in the center back position is Juan David Cabezas, who hadn't played, and he said it himself in post-game press conference. I haven't played this position in a while, much less so much consecutively in my career. And I have to adapt to that. Right. So there's this whole thing about, improvisation, the lack of chemistry between the lines. I don't know why. When you have, I know he's not my cup of tea, but you do have Eric Pimentel on the bench. Why not play him? Is he injured? Is there something wrong between him and coach? I don't know. That's pure speculation. I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Whatever it is, there's too many positions being improvised by Wilmer Cabrera this late into the season. That's the biggest thing, right? So, and it's starting to affect. Okay, so that was goal number 1 by Sacramento. Another thing is that obviously Vitiello is a very good shot stopper. He's a very good shot stopper. You saw it in the first half. You saw it in the second half. This is one of the clear ones. Obviously, Christian Pinzon, that ball gets bounced. That shot from outside the box by Alex Moniz. And Vitiello was able to save that ball into the corner. Corner kick ensues. And of course, you've got everybody inside the box. Cross in. The ball lands towards Michael Knapp, and the ball gets put into the back of the net. Right? Obviously, it's 43rd minute, 44th minute. It's like, okay, this is the best scenario for RGV, which is, all right, we're gonna have a lead going into halftime. So the momentum is gonna be in RGV's favor. The problem is, the problem is the the defense lost their focus. Everybody pushed up too high up, right? Thankfully, Sacramento was able to get some was able to stop, have to kind of regroup and all of that. But okay, once again, so much space out on the wing. By this time, Ricky Reese is out of the game. Ricky Reese, I don't know if he pulled a muscle, I don't know what happened exactly, but he had to leave the game due to injury. So by this time, the player that was in that position now is Tomás Ritondale, right? Once again, so much space for this winger to receive and get that cross. Okay, everybody's so far away from number two. Everybody's so far away from number two from Gurr. Nobody to put pressure. Nobody to force him to use his weak foot or try to force him to pass it back, try to dribble or something. No, nobody. Everybody's so far away. Both Tomás Ritondale and Cristiano Francois. So Gurr receives, sends the cross into the back of the net, and of course, goal for Sacramento Republic at the death of the first half by Luis Felipe. So my question here in this play is, who was guarding Luis Felipe? Right? So this is Luis Felipe right here, number 96. Who's supposed to guard him? Frank Nodarce. But Frank Nodarce is looking towards the ball. He's looking out towards the wing. And Luis Felipe makes a run slanted towards his left. Nobody realized that Luis Felipe was coming in. Michael Knapp was guarding somebody. Nodarce wasn't looking. He was looking at number 2. Ricketts has somebody to guard. Juan David Cabezas has somebody to guard. So he puts himself where Luis Felipe puts himself where he knew that Gurr was going to pass that ball, because that was just inch perfect. That was just an inch perfect cross by Gurr. Because for Luis Felipe, they already practiced this. They knew, okay, in this scenario, I know that Gurr is going to put the ball in this specific spot inside the 18-yard box, which is right outside the 6-yard box. So I'm going to position myself right there. And so he positions himself in front of Jonathan Ricketts, who his mind is pretty much on this player that he's guarding, right? Then he realizes, oh snap, I've got Luis Felipe on me. By that time, the ball already hits Luis Felipe's head and into the back of the net. Now, could you say that maybe Tyler Derrick could have done something better to intercept that cross? Because look where he is. He's like right on the line. Maybe. I mean, because you could really say that, okay, you don't need. Do you really need to be right on the line when the ball is so far wide, so far ahead? You know that this. Excuse me. You know that this player is a right footer, so you don't expect him that he's going to go for a shot straight on goal. You want to try to anticipate the cross. I mean, you could say that. You could put some of the blame on Tyler Derrick, but I think the biggest culprit here, just like Josh is saying, center backs. What are they doing? Where is there no awareness on the people that are coming in? So Josh says, Yogi Bear Gaming says, why was there 6 minutes of stoppage time? Injuries. I think they spent a lot of time with Ricky Reese when he got injured, attending to him. I know there was There was a couple of times where Sacramento Republic's players went down on an apparent, foul, like that slap to the head that from Juan David Cabezas to the Sacramento player, which wasn't intentional, but they had the trainers had to come in for that as well. So that's where there were 6 minutes of a stoppage time added. Why it went to 7, I'm not 100% sure. You could argue something like that. But at the end of the day, until the referee blows the whistle for halftime or for full time, every player, every 11 players that are inside the field for your team, they have to maintain the concentration at all times. Even if you know that okay, this is past 6 minutes, the referee should blow any time now. You got to keep that concentration up. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So now instead of going into halftime with the lead in your favor, now you lose all that momentum because now Sacramento is the one that has the lead, right? So second half comes into this game, and really, RGV, they tried, they continued to attack, but Vitiello was so damn good. You look at this game, you look at the second half stats and the shots. I'm seeing right here on the USO website, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots on target, and I'm talking about like actually in the goal. But Vitiello had outstanding saves. I think he had one on Frank Lopez. He had another one on Cristiano Francois, and then on Michael Knapp too. You look at his stats. Vitiello in this game. I know Tyler Derrick. I think they said they had more than 3, which is why we were supposed to get the jumbo jack. But Vitiello, man, Daniel Vitiello had 6 saves. 6 saves in this game. Right? So RGV had opportunities. They had opportunities. They had clear shots on goal in the second half. But they just couldn't put it in the back end. They couldn't put him past Vitiello. The problem is that you lose. Not only did you lose Ricky in the first half, you then lose Jonathan Ricketts in the second half. Right? So in order to adapt, or in order to take advantage, or in order to adapt to that situation, Wilmer brings in Robert Coronado into the match, brings him in the 66th minute because Ricketts gets injured gets subbed out due to the injury at the 66th minute. So you bring in Robert Coronado, but what Wilmer does, and I was like, what? He brings Michael Knapp from the center defensive midfield position to the right back position and leaves Robert Coronado in the midfield position. And I left myself, like, when I saw that, I was like, I was just scratching my head. It was like, because Robert Coronado already had experience playing as a defender on the other side of the field as a left back, but he had experience as a defender nonetheless. Whereas Michael Knapp has always played with RGV, all this time since he's gotten back from injury. Put him in the midfield, but no, you put Knapp in the defense and Robert in the midfield. And so now you're dealing with a situation where you have Tomás Ritondale. Okay, so Ricky Reese is not there, but you have Tomás Ritondale, right? But you're back into a situation where there is no chemistry because you've got a non-defensive player, or a non-defensive player playing as a defender. So, and of course, Michael Knapp was kind of kind of more focused on, I got to push up, I got to help out, Francois. I gotta help out. Who was up there? Moniz, right? Help out on the attack, right? Why am I mentioning this? Right? Let's go straight towards the goal. I'm just gonna go straight towards the goal by by Luther Archimede. Okay, so Archimede comes in the 66th minute. So this is right at the same time as they bring in Knapp and they move Knapp and bring in Robert Coronado. This is, I believe, is the play, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Let me double check just to make sure. Um, yeah, 68th minute. Okay. This is your back line, right? Tomás Ritondale over here. You had Frank Nodarse, Robert Coronado, Juan David Cabezas, and Michael Knapp. Okay. Everything looks good up at this point, right? You're forcing this player towards the inside. Robert Coronado is going to step up, right? Steps up to press. However, look at Michael Knapp right here while this is happening. Michael Knapp steps all the way in, knowing that this player had to come in. There is no space for him to shoot, but there's a lot of space in here between the line, the defensive line, and Tyler Derrick. Juan David Cabezas anticipates that there's going to be a through ball. So when he notices that, he moves back up to join the line with Frank Nodarse and try to put in Archimede in an offside position when he makes the run. Number one, at this point, the ball has kind of already left the shoe, and Archimede is not in an offside position. So even if Michael Knapp was attentive and they did move up, the goal would have stood. Or at least maybe it would have been a little bit more controversial or harder to make the decision. Maybe at split second, the linesman would have called the offside. We don't know. The problem is Michael Knapp never paid attention to that. And so he stayed deep within his 18-yard box, giving Archimede so much free space to meet up with the ball. Can't even get a good touch to it either, but it was just enough to put it into the back of the net. And of course, grant Sacramento Republic the win that they needed, and obviously the loss that RGV did not need at all. Right? So, in the end, like I said, once again, we're here talking about defensive mistakes that are costing this team, that are costing them points. The Toros needed to win, and they weren't able to get it at home. So now we're in this mega situation of holy hell. Now we really have to rely that everybody else doesn't make any points at all, and we have to win. No ifs, ands, or buts against Loudoun United. But you also have to make sure that New Mexico doesn't win, that Monterey doesn't win, and Oakland can tie, if I'm not mistaken, but they cannot win. They can tie or lose, but they cannot win. Now, my question is, because when this result came up, I was like, oh, great, we're eliminated, right? So I was just waiting for the USA website to put up the graphic that says RGV FC Toros have been eliminated from making it to the playoffs, or seeing the E in the standings. And it's like, wait, what is going on? Like, what? How are we still alive, right? So I know there's been some confusion as to, okay, what are the tiebreakers in the USL Championship? In the USL Championship, it's not like in other leagues where it's obviously points is first and then it's a goal differential. Not in the USL Championship. So according to the USL, in the case of two teams being equal in points, the tiebreaker hierarchy is as follows. Um, First of all, it is head-to-head points earned in regular season league games, goal differential in head-to-head matches, points per game versus in-conference opponents in regular season games, total wins in regular season league games, goal differential in regular season league games, goals scored in regular season league games, points earned against top four conference finishers, except that if the number of such games is unequal, yada yada yada. But it's rare when they have to go all the way down there. Then after that, number of disciplinary points, and then a lottery conducted by the league at the very end. Goal differential is fifth in that hierarchy, right? So, what is my confusion that I've had even right before this show? Okay, so even if New Mexico reaching 43 points, which is the maximum amount of points that RGV is that RGV can make or it can get to in this regular season, we're still not eliminated. So I'm like, okay, why? So I go, okay, first hierarchy, head-to-head points earned in regular season league matches. We tied both games 2-2, both here at home and over there at Isotopes Park. Remember how I said? Remember how I said after the game where we got equalized in stoppage time against New Mexico United, where me and Jacob said we are going to be lamenting these lost 2 points. Here we go. We're at this point. We're going up against New Mexico United. Had that not happened, New Mexico would be in 42 points and we wouldn't be in the situation. And even if we did have to equalize eventually in points, we would have the clear advantage in head-to-head points in regular season games. But we don't. We lost our focus. They equalized us with both goals coming in stoppage time. Look where we're at now. Okay, so that's both of them are tied. 2-2-2-2. Goal differential in head-to-head matches, same thing. 2-2-2-2. Goal differential is the same. Okay, so points per game versus in-conference opponents in regular season league games. I did the count right before the show. And the calculations that I had, correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys want to do this calculations as well. So you get the amount of points that they earned against every team they've played in the Western Conference, right? So 28 by New Mexico United and 28 by RGV. Both teams are going to be playing against an Eastern Conference in the last week, which means that they are going to have the same right now. They have the same amount of games played against in intra-conference opponents. So if they're both tied and they both have the same equal amount of games, that means that this tier is also tied. And you go to the next one. Total wins in regular season league games. Let's take a look at the standings. New Mexico has 12 wins. RGV has 9. Which is why right now I'm like, okay, then if this is the case, why are we still alive? Wouldn't it be that technically, even if we win against Loudon, New Mexico loses against Memphis, and both Oakland and Monterey Bay don't get the necessary amount of points to get to 43, then technically, based on this, New Mexico should eliminate us because they have the they have the tiebreaker. But according to John Morrissey of USL Tactics, he put up an article in his Substack talking about the the tiebreakers and dark horse potential in the Western bubble. So where it says for New Mexico, it says New Mexico is another win and you're inside the Cross Fe. If they fail to win, the situation becomes bleak. An Oakland win would drop New Mexico out of the playoffs. Oakland also owns the tiebreaker in case of a tie. It says Eric Quill's side will also miss the postseason if they finish level with Monterrey, worst head to head outcomes, or Rio Grande Valley, worst in conference results? So I don't get it. I don't know if I'm missing something because it says points per game. It doesn't say, goal differential against in conference opponents, right? And then the next one is total wins in regular season games. So I'm kind of stumped. Hopefully somebody can help me out with that. Um, Real quick, let me take a look at the chat. Um, Javier Hasso, my dad says the same problem as always. The outside backs giving so much space and time for the other team to send crosses into the area. Greetings from Monterrey, Nuevo León. Greetings, Dad. Glad to have you here tuning into the show. Josh says Yogi Burbank Gaming says Wilmer, how dare you, why iota? How many times have we felt the same way at times when he was with the Dynamo? Oh man. Good times, good times. He then says, "Bro, this makes me miss the peel, dude. You know how many times I've missed the peel as well, man, dude. It is crazy." Um, let's see. He then says, "I don't think that's on the defense so much. I think the coach needs to prepare them for a situation for that." Mm, yeah, but I get your point. I do get your point. But considering that you have a veteran like Juan David Cabezas, I think they have to be better. Yeah, to be better in that kind of situation. Maybe as you say, okay, maybe they weren't prepared to having Michael Knapp as an outside back. That could be something where I can concede, to be honest. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I don't know much about the Toros. That looked easily preventable. Rise of the USL says, hopefully they make it in. Abraham says, what are we talking about? We are talking about the why is it that we're still eligible to make it into the playoffs? I'm kind of confused. Like I said, I'm looking through the tiebreakers, and at least on my calculations, they seem equal up to total wins, and New Mexico has the advantage. Maybe I missed a game. Maybe I missed, but I did it like 3 times, calculated like 3 times per team, and I keep on getting 28 and 28. So I was hoping that maybe Harry would be on and kind of help me out with that. Um, oh, look, it's JVO. He says, we are out of the playoffs. Let's be honest. When are we going to hold the coach accountable? You keep talking about the players. Wilmer out. Sigues con lo mismo, compadre. I agree. I agree about the playoffs. I mean, I actually wanted to post this question, which was, even if we do make it to the playoffs, do we deserve being in the playoffs? Right? Honestly, this team overall does not play like a playoff team. They're too inconsistent. Uh, they're not well prepared, depth wise, player wise. Some questionable decisions by coach. I think another questionable decision that I didn't mention by Wilmer Cabrera that I didn't mention yet was that outside of those um, injury substitutions that he had to make, he didn't make an actual tactical substitution until the 82nd minute, where he brings in Gringo Torres and Ian Cerro, and then in an 83rd minute brings in Juan Galindres. That change should have probably happened. That should have happened. Um, I was telling who was I telling? I was telling Gloria Morelia. I was telling her that change should have happened right after you got scored on. How are you going to expect for Galindres to resolve your game in 7 minutes? Right? It's just not possible. Right? And that is something that has been very characteristic of Wilmer at multiple times, not only in this season but also with the Houston Dynamo. Um, so yeah, honestly, like I don't know what you guys think, chat, but to me, I don't see how this team is playoff ready or if they even deserve to make it into the playoffs. And then I lead to the other question, which is, and I posted it when we did the Twitter space in the game against Hartford Athletic. If the team doesn't make playoffs, is this going to be a wake up call for the organization, or is it going to be business as normal? That's the biggest question that I have right now. Mike says, so even if we win and New Mexico loses, we are not in. I mean, apparently, yes. Apparently, yes. John Morrissey says that if there is a tie for that last playoff spot between New Mexico and us, we win and we go in. Granted that Oakland and Monterey Bay don't get the necessary results to make it to past 43 points, right? Mike says, no, we don't belong in the playoffs. And then it says, bro, I was screaming at him since they scored the goal, the subs in to go in. I agree with you, man. That's what I was thinking in my head. Like, where the substitutes, Wilmer, is like, you need the points. You don't want to rely on what we're actually having to rely with right now. I mean, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Your wiggle room was already small to begin with, even if you did win, because you still had to rely on other results to get you into the playoffs. But now you got so little wiggle room. It's like you're pretty much Austin powering your way out of that cramped little hallway, and you're in a really long. You guys seen that scene, right, with Austin Powers where he's trying to maneuver that golf cart he's trying to turn the golf cart around the other way in a very narrow hallway. That's how much space, that's how much wiggle room RGV has to try to make it into the playoffs. And you didn't need to. You could have done something more, at least in my eyes. Put some substitutions in. Don't wait until the 80-some minute to react. Right? So it is. And then Mike says, Womer needs to fix his coaching ways. Yeah. And in some aspects, yeah. I still think that he's making miracles with this squad, but there have been a lot of questionable decisions so far this season that kind of left my head scratching when it came to the timing of substitutions, the improvisation of players when you have players in that position. For example, in the center back position, you have players like Puma, and instead you use Juan David Cabezas. The building of the roster based on obviously with a small amount of budget, but there were a lot of holes in this roster, and you saw it especially in the first couple of games when you didn't have very few people up front. You had to improvise, and it really wasn't working well, and things like that. Man, my throat's getting really, really dry. Abraham says he brought in the subs 10 minutes before the game. Terrible call. Yeah, I agree. So we got a comment here from JBO. I'll go ahead and read it. He says, I have a source, current player. He told me that Wilmer will not continue with RGV next season no matter what. You heard this first from me. The thing is, and I've learned this the hard way, and this is why I'm telling you this, right? The thing is, you got to have multiple sources to back you up in these kind of claims, right? So I made that mistake before where I said something, a source told me this, this, and this, but it was only one person, and it turns out it wasn't the case, right? I mean, it could be. It could be what happens. Anything could happen, I think at this point. Would I be surprised? No. Honestly, from what I've heard as well, I would not be surprised if Wilmer isn't here next season. Um, so yeah, so there's that. Um, Trying to figure out why are we still alive. We talking about what we need to make it into the playoffs. Is it possible? I mean, mathematically, it is possible, but man, you got to rely on three teams to not do their job, and you got to do your job as well to make it in, right? So, who do the other teams play, right? So, we talked about that it's going to be Orange County is going to play against El Paso Locomotive. El Paso Locomotive has already clinched their playoff spot, if I'm not mistaken. No, they have not clinched yet. They have not clinched yet. Okay, so that could play in our favor because both teams are going to want to clinch the playoff spot. So El Paso's going to want to get at least a draw against Oakland. Oakland's gonna try and go for the win because obviously they do win a potential tiebreaker against New Mexico United, but if RGV comes into the question, RGV would have an advantage over them in the tiebreaker. So although in a three-way tiebreaker, I do think maybe RGV still has uh the advantage in that. Monterey Bay goes up against, let me double check. So Monterey Bay is going to go up against Orange County. Orange County already clinched playoffs. They're playing at Cardinal Stadium. But Orange County is tough, and they're going to want to maintain momentum going into the playoffs. So Monterey Bay is going to have it tough. New Mexico is going up against Memphis. They're also going to have it tough. New Mexico or Memphis has already clinched the playoffs, but and they cannot catch Charleston Battery, but Louisville City can catch them if Memphis loses and Louisville City wins. So they're not going to want to lose the home field advantage that they would have in a potential matchup against Louisville City or in the 11, right? So they still have something to fight for, you could say. So New Mexico is going to have it tough. Oakland's going to have it tough. Monterey Bay is going to have it tough as well, based on the team that they're playing up against. In theory, RGB has it the easiest out of the four because you're going up against Loudoun United, who is second to the last team in the Eastern Conference. But how many times have we said that? How many times have we said, "Oh, this should be on paper an easy match for RGV FC. You're going up against one of the worst teams in the USL Championship, or in the division." Not only this year, but the season before and the season before that, and they completely crapped the bed and either draw or lose against these quote unquote easy opponents. So, to be honest, based on this, it's like I don't know. I don't have faith. I don't have as much faith as I feel I'm supposed to have when you've got a matchup between RGV and Loudoun United. Because yes, we are also right now second to the last in the Western Conference, but Loudoun United only was able to muster 25 points. The last 5 games, they've lost 4, drawn 1. RGV, at least, they've got 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss. Right? So, like I said, on paper, it should be an easy game. And you're also playing at home. But we said that against Atlanta United, I think 2 years ago. And I think they beat us. We said that against Loudoun last season. They got a draw here at home as well. We said that against Las Vegas here at home and on the road. And we drew here and lost on the road at Cashman Field. So forgive me if I don't have the confidence that I feel we should have of getting a positive result. That'll at least get us in a position to expect a miracle from the rest of these teams. Now, the thing is, we're going to know our fate, or at least most of our fate, we're going to know it tomorrow. Tomorrow is when New Mexico United is going to play Memphis 901. They're going to be playing at 9 p.m. at Isotopes Park. So if you guys want to see that game on ESPN Plus, I suggest you do so. Because like I said, if New Mexico United wins or draws, yeah, we're out. No ifs, ands, or ands about it. No matter what we do against Loudoun United, we're going to be out of the playoffs. So this is literally like pretty much like a final for RGV. Um, yeah. So on that note, I want to hear your thoughts. What are your predictions for this match? What is Do you think we're going to make it to the playoffs? Do you think we're going to run into the miracle that the rest of the teams that are supposed to lose, which gives us an opportunity? What are your thoughts? I want to get your thoughts while I kind of like recover my breath. Uh, Josh says, before you end the stream, can I get an oh yeah for Dynamo getting into the playoffs in 2017? I'll get to that. Don't worry, Josh. I will get to that. Um, he says 16-0, make playoffs by a landslide. Oh man. I don't know. JBO says, can you tell me why Pimentel is not playing? Is there a logical reason why? No, I can't tell you a logical reason why. I can't think of anything. I mean, is it an injury that we don't know? I don't think so. Is it, I don't know, something else behind the scenes? I don't know either. And I know it was asked before about Pimentel, but obviously Wilmer mentioned, oh, it's a tactical decision, yada yada yada. So no, I don't have a reason why Pimentel isn't playing. Josh says, "Look, I'm just trying to be positive. Damn it." I get you, man. I get you, but the future is so bleak for this team. Ah, man, it's like I'm trying to find some positivity as a fan of this team. That, oh yeah, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it to the playoffs. The miracle is gonna happen. Yeah. I cannot realistically muster that. To be honest, I can't muster that. Unfortunately, there's just so much out of our control that we shouldn't have put ourselves in the situation to begin with. That's the problem. But we are in this position, but we have to rely on three other teams to not do their job and us to do our job. Ta cabron. Ta cabron. Uh, Abraham says, I feel like a Cowboys fan saying win, lose, ride or die with the team. I don't know, Abraham, because the difference is that we're not out here gloating that we're going to be winning the championship anytime soon. That's the difference between us and Cowboys fans. Um, I guess you could say right now I guess the best the best um the best comparison would be what, the Jaguars, the Texans, maybe. I mean the Patriots too. And I'm a Patriots fan, right? But it's like, man, like we're not going to be close to being a championship winning team. We can make the playoffs, but that's about it. We're not going to be making a deep run, right? I know the Patriots have had a dynasty under Tom Brady, but there's no Tom Brady. Mac Jones isn't cutting it. But I'm going into a completely different tangent where this is not a football podcast, and I'm kind of getting tired too. um, Josh says, it ain't over till it's over. Regardless of winning a championship, make the playoffs needs to be the first obvious goal. I mean, it is. It is, but once you get into a situation where we're at right now, it's like, holy crap. It's like, yeah, if we don't make it, this is obviously going to be a failure. You know? Yogi Bear gave me sense F the Texans. Wow. That's because you live in Houston, man. See, and you make fun of Justin for being a Philly fan. But yeah. Anyway, so what? It's next on the list. Okay, real quick. Today, the Toros announced that there's going to be a 40% off of all Puma merchandise at the team store. Um, what does this mean? Basically, it's a clearance of all Puma gear. To me, it obviously indicates that we are not going to be wearing Puma as of this moment. We're not going to be wearing Puma next season. If I recall correctly, when the partnership was announced back in 2021, Ron Patel said that it was a 3-year agreement. So that's 2021 season, 2022 season, and 2023 season. So this is going to be the end of the 2023 season. And an announcement has not been made for a renewal. They're announcing a clearance of all Puma stuff from the team store. Most likely means that we're not going to be wearing Puma next season. What are we going to wear? I don't know. I guess we'll wait to find out what they announce. My guess is going to be Meiba. I have no information about that, but I do feel like maybe Meiba, who is it's a organization, it's a company from Barcelona. I know that they came into the USL with, I think, first with Las Vegas Lights, and then they recently got Oakland Roots. So I think they're going to try and make a push into the USL Championship, and kind of be their showcase, to any other teams. So maybe it could be a possibility. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. I guess we'll wait to see at the end of preseason what they announce in regards to that. A couple of things, I guess. Obviously, we already talked about Loudoun United. Yeah, I'm not feeling very confident about that. I did want to get some quotes from today from Wilmer, from Michael Knapp. But honestly, I mean, it's pretty much obvious. Wilmer saying that we'll continue working until the final game of the season. We need to present a team similar to the one that was on the pitch against Sacramento, which I disagree. Defensively, we need a better defense. We can't just go in. We can't just go in with the same team with all these troubles in defense against Loudoun. Yeah, it could be technically an easy game, but not in the playoffs if we do make it. Then today they asked Wilmer, if he will be using the game against Loudoun United as a showcase for lesser used players or continuing to use the usual starters. And he says tomorrow's game will be a huge perspective. Again, the game against New Mexico. What could be on the stage on Saturday? The idea is to have all the available players possible to make sure that if we have the possibility of qualifying to the playoffs, we still have the players available to be competitive. But if we don't, it would be good momentum, not only for the ones that have played and we know, but also to give the chance and opportunity to players that we haven't seen, and even some young guys that might be for them the opportunity to showcase. Basically, if we're still alive, we'll go with the best we got. If we don't, you can probably see a possibility of a lot of youngsters on this squad, on the 18, maybe in starting 11 against Loudoun United. So just a heads up on that of what you can expect on Saturday. Then they asked, Michael Napa what, he thought about, fans thinking that there are games called easy games like Loudoun, like in Las Vegas and things like that. And he says, we can't take any team lightly. I know the fans think that some games are easy games, but in the USL, I don't think there's anything like that. We are all pros. There is no easy games. Everybody gets paid. Everyone is working hard. We just got to be aware of that, and they want to mess up our playoff chances anyway. That gives them more energy. We have to be aware of the energy they're coming with, and we have to be able to destroy and win no matter what. I get his position. On the player's point of view, you cannot underestimate a player or any team, and that has been obvious. But on the fan side, can you really, look at Loudoun against RGV and say, oh, they have no reason for the fans to say, oh, it's an easy game. On paper, it is. That's the stats right there, and that's going to be the biggest comparison. I personally think it should be an easy game, and I mentioned it before. Do I have confidence that they're going to play the perfect game? Not really. I mean, they could get the win, but RGV has been notorious, like I said, on not doing what they're supposed to against these lesser teams and not getting the results that you expect out of these games. So, whew, I don't know how I was able to condense all of that into an hour and 15 minutes, and even less. But um, Abraham says should have been at least 60%. I kind of lost you right there, where we're at, what you're referring to right now. But yeah, but guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. I apologize if I rushed this right at the end, but I have to go and feed the dog, feed the cats. I have to go walk the dog, and then at 10 o'clock I have a recording for Mente Futbolera. So I'm kind of in a rush right now. Obviously, I didn't have Jacob nor Ray here tonight, but I appreciate all of you for tuning in, for all of you for giving your feedback. Like I said, I really hope we can make it to the playoffs. But let's be honest, I to me, I think it'd be better if we don't make it. And it sucks for me to say it, but that's just what I feel like right now. Um, hope y'all had fun. Hope y'all learned. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. If you did, give it a like, share it with your friends. Yada yada yada. Typical YouTuber call to action kind of thing. But I thank y'all for your support. I probably will not be at the game on Saturday. I have a commitment for Pigskin on Saturday. Gonna go help out. Go with my sister as well to see some marching bands. That's how you know that we're band geeks at heart. But hopefully, the those that go to the stadium enjoy, go and support. And I guess we'll talk about. If we don't make it, I guess we'll have those conversations when we get to those conversations. Thank you all for everything. I will see you all next week in another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. Have a good night. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay, Abraham. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm fine. Like I said, I got stuff to do in a kind of short amount of time. But you'll probably see me tweeting on Saturday while I'm at Pigskin. So I'll be there in spirit. Or I'll probably head over there after Memorial performs at 8:30. Head over to the stadium, maybe see the last couple of minutes. I guess we'll see what happens. But have a good night. See y'all next week. Hopefully, Jacob will be here next Wednesday on Down in the Valley. Take care.